Hello, historians. This is Mr. Fredo. This is our final installment for our Middle Ages quick mini lesson sequence, and this focuses on one of the most disgusting topics we will go through over the course of the entire year, the Black Death, sometimes known as the bubonic plague or the Black Plague or the Great Pestilence, as it was referred to during the 1300s throughout Western Europe. Many of you have heard of this because it's so disgusting, but also because of the effect that it had on Western Europe. Now, it actually originated in Asia, most likely China. And then, because of different trade, especially trade through the Mediterranean Sea, it ends up in Europe. A lot of historians every year ask an awesome question. Why doesn't it have the same effect throughout Asia as it does throughout Western Europe? And the answer is simply because, number one, in Asia, people were much more spread out. Number two, in Europe, people were so tightly compacted in these massive cities, many of which were built by the Romans with apartment buildings and large dwellings with a lot of people. It was much less sanitary as well. That's why, as a quick side note, why it has such a large effect in Europe compared to Asia, where it actually originated. But in terms of how it works, it starts with the rats. The rats would be on these ships, in the bottom of the ships. And, this is not a very sanitary time period. So for people to be walking throughout Europe and see one of these rats, they don't really think anything of it. Likewise, when this ship shows up and they see rats on the bottom of this boat, nobody's really worried or concerned. But these rats, some of them have built up an immunity to this disease or this virus called Yersinia pestis, what the plague is. Well, these fleas are going to come around and they're going to bite the rat and they're going to take and ingest some of that blood. What the fleas are then going to do is they are going to jump to a human. And because the fleas are unable to digest and fully swallow all of that blood, what they do, and this is when it starts to get really gross, in addition to just being talking about rats and fleas in general, what the fleas then do is they throw up that blood into the human. And as soon as that happens, the very first victim is walking around 14th century Europe in the 1300s. And from there, as soon as this happens, it does not take very long for it to just spread like complete wildfire because people are so tightly compacted and people are living so close together. In the span of 10, 20, overall about 30 years, around 25 million people, and that's a low estimate, 25 million people are killed in Western Europe. And this has devastating effects on Europe's life and Europe's culture. For example, the feudal system, which completely depended on people being able to fulfill their promises, is absolutely destroyed because the group that's affected the most, the peasants, because they are the most of them and they live in the least sanitary conditions, they can't produce food for the knights, which means the knights can't protect the nobles, which means they can't govern the land for the king. And it's a vicious, vicious domino effect that destroys the feudal system, all because of these rats showing up and these fleas taking blood from that rats and ingesting it into humans. Another big side effect is this is when we see the Catholic Church gain a ton of power because people were so confused about what was happening. The people of Western Europe had never seen anything like this before. And because of that, they didn't know where to turn. They couldn't treat it. They weren't just getting better. They tried many different techniques like bloodletting, where they would try to release the blood from their system, where they would open up these big swellings. None of that was working. So the Catholic Church uses this as an opportunity to essentially say, hey, open up to us and we will open our doors to you and you will find protection. Now, the Catholic Church was already very, very powerful at this point in history, but they were able to use this exact situation to really gain them even more power in what's going to lead us up to a topic down the road, the Reformation throughout Europe.